7 silent moves that destroy your avoidant ex's ego. Let's talk about something that's rarely said out loud but deeply felt. How silence, real inner silence, can break the emotional walls of even the most emotionally avoidant ex. You see, people who are emotionally avoidant thrive on distance, ambiguity, and control. They're allergic to vulnerability, terrified of intimacy, and addicted to being chased. So when you finally pull back, not in a performative or manipulative way, but in a soul-level way, they feel it. They don't show it. They won't admit it. But it hits them where their ego lives. Today, we're going to walk through 7 silent moves you can make, not to hurt them, but to reclaim your power, that absolutely dismantle the avoidant ex's carefully crafted emotional detachment. Move 1. The silent shift from chaser to unbothered. Let's be honest. When you were with your avoidant ex, you were probably doing the emotional labor. You were the one checking in, solving problems, and making excuses for their coldness. That's exactly what they needed to keep control. But the moment you stop chasing, not out of anger, but because your soul is tired, they feel it. It's like a dog that suddenly realizes no one's playing fetch anymore. They'll never say it, but they notice your silence when they're used to your noise. The shift doesn't happen when you block them or post cryptic quotes. It happens when your energy changes. When you no longer look for their presence or absence, their ego cracks because they're losing the emotional supply they never admitted they needed. Move 2. No reaction to their breadcrumbs. Avoidants are masters at giving crumbs. Just enough to keep you orbiting. A "hey stranger" text, a random like on your post, a vague apology months after disappearing. But the most powerful move you can make is nothing. Don't respond. Don't delete it. Just let it sit there, seen, but not worthy of your attention. To an avoidant, silence in response to their bait feels like rejection. It flips the power dynamic. They're used to you reacting, but when your silence becomes louder than their noise, it bruises their ego. They start wondering if maybe, just maybe, you finally saw through the illusion they've been hiding behind. Move 3. Glowing up without announcement. There's something deeply ego-crushing for an avoidant ex when they realize you're not only surviving without them, you're thriving. Not in an "I'm doing this to show you" kind of way. No, quiet evolution. Healing without the performance, growing without the update. Avoidants expect you to spiral when they leave. They expect confusion, desperation, or begging. But when your life starts to look more peaceful, more aligned, and more you, and you never once tried to parade it in front of them, their ego takes a massive hit. It says, "You were never the source of my joy, I was." And that shakes them more than any speech ever could. Move 4. Silence during their crisis. Avoidants often come back when their life isn't going well. They seek comfort, familiarity, or validation, and they test the waters, subtly, softly, seeking if you're still emotionally available. But here's the play. You stay silent. You don't show up for their storm this time. You used to be their emotional sponge, their soothing salve when things fell apart. But now you let them sit in it, not because you're heartless, but because you've finally learned this isn't your battle. When you go silent during their chaos, it sends the strongest message. I'm not your emotional safety net anymore. That silence echoes in the halls of their ego like thunder. Move 5. The vanishing mirror. One of the most psychologically brutal silent moves, you stop reflecting them back to themselves. Avoidants often use relationships as mirrors. They want to feel admired without giving much in return. You used to be that mirror, always showing them the best version of themselves, covering for their emotional neglect with your love. But now, you're gone. No admiration, no attention, no proof that they are still special. They start questioning their own worth without your reflection, and because avoidants rarely self-reflect, your silence becomes their only mirror left, and it doesn't show them what they want to see. Move 6. Emotional detachment. Without explanation, avoidants thrive in confusion. They love blurry endings, half-closed doors, and unclear boundaries. That way, they can always creep back in. But when you silently close the emotional loop, without drama, without fighting, without a 3-paragraph message explaining your healing, That silence cuts deep. It says, I don't owe you closure because I found it within myself. Emotional detachment without explanation is foreign territory for an avoidant. They expect fireworks or breakdowns, not calm exits. And when you give them silence wrapped in emotional clarity, they feel powerless. That's when they begin to realize they never really had the control they thought they did. Move 7. Unfollow without announcing, block without bitterness. Here's one of the final ego hits. Digital silence. Not petty blocking, not passive-aggressive unfollowing, just clean digital detachment. You don't watch their stories, you don't stalk their feed, you don't engage, you disappear from their virtual world without a sound. Why does this matter so much? Because the avoidant ego is fed by the idea that you're still checking, still caring, still somewhere out there emotionally tied to them. When you vanish quietly, it erodes that fantasy. They go looking and find nothing. That nothing speaks louder than words. It's not revenge. It's not bitterness. It's peace. And that's something they can't touch, control, or interrupt. Here's the deeper truth. Silence isn't about playing games. It's not about hurting someone back. It's about returning home to yourself. Avoidance can only keep their emotional upper hand when you're hooked, chasing, confused, or trying to make them understand. But when you stop needing to be understood, when your silence is not a tactic, but a testimony of your growth, they feel it, even if they'll never admit it. These 7 silent moves aren't about destroying anyone. They're about dismantling the illusions that kept you stuck. And yes, the avoidance ego may bruise along the way, but that's not your problem anymore. So let them wonder. Let them spiral in their silence. Let them miss the version of you they took for granted. Because while they try to figure out how they lost control, you're already far ahead, rebuilding your life, restoring your peace, and reconnecting with a version of yourself that doesn't beg to be loved. You now know the secret. Silence is not weakness. It's power. It's healing. It's the loudest message you'll ever send, and the one their ego will never forget. If this message spoke to your experience, let it be your quiet reminder that you don't have to fight to be seen. Sometimes your greatest transformation happens not in what you say, but in what you choose not to. If you've made any of these silent moves or are about to, just know you're reclaiming your life one decision at a time. And the more peace you allow in, the less you'll even think about the people who once made you suffer.